This video is part of my AMC GAS 302 assessment for the enrichment of animals. Observation 1. For part of this assessment, I was to observe one animal or a group of animals of the same species, then research, observe, and record their behavior. For this project, I used my domestic short-hair cat, Spaghetti. I had to select an animal that relates to my course of vet nursing and ensure that the animal was located in a suitable environment. So for this, I chose our home where he felt calm and safe. First, select the species, in this case my feline cat Spaghetti. Next, I observed him for 3 10-minute periods and recorded my findings. I also needed to describe any signs of stress I observed and state what the possible stressor could be. I didn't note any signs of stress in Spaghetti, but signs of stress in cats can be urinating outside the litter box, diarrhea, constipation, or other digestive issues, excessive grooming, excessive scratching, isolation, excessive vocalization, decrease in appetite, and increase in sleeping. Here was just basic normal cat behavior. He's looking around. He was doing a little bit of zoomies, a bit of sniffing the grass, all fairly normal. Observation 2. So here's his backyard area, which he spends most of his day exploring, and he's watching us. He's keeping a bit of distance, a bit of caution. He's sniffing the garden. This is all really good behaviors because he's exploring his area. Spaghetti has a relatively chill life. He wakes up at 6, or he wakes us up at 6. He has food. Then he spends majority of his day outside in the sunshine chasing birds and other insects. And he's got it pretty easy. He's got a pretty good life. Apart from being maybe a little bit neurotic and doing the zoomies sometimes, I didn't notice any signs of obvious stress in Spaghetti, and if there were any, I would have noted them down. And here he's showing us his belly, which is a really good sign. It shows that he's playful. He's got the little tail going. He loves showing off his little belly, but if you try to pat him, he runs away. He's got the tail flicking, so he's intrigued. He's rubbing around. This is a good sign. It's a very playful sign to see. And shaking. Off he goes, and he's gonna jump up onto this fence here. Yep, there he goes. And he likes to sit up there because that's a vantage point for him and he can watch the birds. And sometimes the neighbours feed him, which they shouldn't do, but they do. So he goes up there. And here's Spaghetti again, and he's just always looking over things. It's his domain. He's always making sure everything's right. He's got the question mark tail, which we love to see. That's a very happy cat. He's got his ears flicking around because he's listening to lots of sounds. He's got his eyes dilated. Sorry, not dilated, the opposite. The pupils are very thin, and he's watching us. He's looking around. He's very aware of his environment. He's looking at us again. He's like, what's going on? There he goes. He's a very happy cat. And the tail's going. His body language is quite happy. He likes to. He's very much like a princess, and he just walks around the house like he owns it. Here he comes. He's checking us out again. I think he was rubbing his scent glands on my camera here, saying that he owns it. He's claimed it, and he's showing us his butt, which is like, you're beneath me kind of language in cats. Cats like to think of us as really stupid cats, so they kind of look down on us, and a lot of his behavior really displays that he thinks that. And yeah, he sits in the sunshine and he stalks around, and he has his full of lizards and lots of other insects. So he's got it pretty good. And I think he was about to groom himself there, but I caught him. Oh, there he goes. He's rubbing his little face, well, licking his paw, and then he's going to rub his face. This is grooming. These are all awesome behaviors. They're very normal. Spaghetti doesn't do anything super weird that I haven't noted down. Everything's pretty stock standard for a cat. He's got his little ears up. He was like, "Why are you filming me?" He's just looking around. He can tell that we're watching him. Here he goes. Observation 3. So I'm just showing the backyard space here. He's got all this space to run around and explore, which he really enjoys. And there's lots of areas of shade for him to... he can always come inside, but the areas of shade are good to get away from the exposure to the weather. And lots of plants to sniff. And yeah, he's up there sitting on the cushions because he likes to be up high. This lattice wall he loves to climb. It scares me a lot, and that tree he loves to sit up on. And here's something I noted down. Spaghetti has perched himself up on the stacked cushions. Cats like to put themselves up high so that they can get a vantage point, so I noted this down. So the problem, Spaghetti loves to scratch things up, and although he has trees outside to scratch, he loves to rip up my mum's curtains, the couch, the floor. If we're late with his food, or if he's just bored, you're in the next room, you can hear him scratching up the floor, and you can try and tell him off, but that's not going to do a lot in the long term, and scratching is a normal behavior for cats. So what we want to do is we want to implement an enrichment item that, gets rid of this bad behavior while also making his life better. So the next part of this assignment, I was tasked with developing and implementing strategies to manage this undesirable behavior for one animal. In this case, Spaghetti's undesirable behavior was his excess scratching. So, and before I included examples of the couch and the armchair he has ripped up, as well as my mum's curtains. He has a tree outside which he has access to scratch throughout the day, but he still opts to scratch things when we are in the room. Cats scratch for a number of reasons, some to express emotion, stress, to mark things with their scent, to groom and remove dead skin cells under the nails, also to stretch out. So next, we had to suggest a short-term strategy to manage this behavior in the interim. 2 ideas that were telling Spaghetti off anytime we saw him scratching, or by placing him outside so we wouldn't have access to the furniture to scratch. Both of these become excess work for us, aren't very efficient, and don't actually solve the problem. So there was a very obvious benefit, long-term strategy, scratching post. So to manage, this manages the root cause of the undesirable behavior. So then we implemented the strategy and recorded my findings, and next we went shopping. So enrichment ideas and products. I highly recommend. We went to this pet barn place and they had the biggest stock of enrichment places. This is the one at Belrose, I think, and they just had huge amounts of stock for every single animal, for birds, cats, horses. And I basically just went shopping for Spaghetti, and I was looking at all the cool stuff that they have. They have so many sensory items, really cool accessories, a whole bunch of stuff. I definitely would check it out. So I'm looking at toys and stuff here, lots of crinkly, noisy stuff that Spaghetti can play with. And we have food supplements, so enrichment supplements, and here's more of the store. And here's all the bird items, which I found really cool. So, depending on your animal and, you know, your personal preference and your price range, you can get a whole bunch of stuff, or you could DIY enrichment items, but they definitely improve the quality of life for your animal. So, I would definitely go check them out because you can get a lot of really cool stuff. And we found some more fish stuff. I was just really, really shocked by the volume of stuff that they had. There's the cat aisle. Oh, and there's this amazing cat scratching pose, but it was way too expensive. It was like $500, maybe $400. There's more of them. You could get really, really like upmarket ones. And again, more toys and more enrichment items. I just took as many videos as I could because I was just like staggered. The store was humongous. But because all the cat scratches we were looking at were really pricey, I went to the next best alternative and I went onto Gumtree. So here's my car, and we went on a big road trip out to Castle Rehe, where we found this guy who was selling this really nice cat scratching post, the small one, and then the big one for $30 for the both, which was really, really good. And we gave them a good little vacuum down to try and get as much of the dirt and the cat spaghetti. Look at this was amazing. I was so happy about it. We gave it a good vacuum to get rid of any cat smells, but I put it outside and Spaghetti was like, what's going on? And he immediately went up to it and he gave it a good sniff. We tried to get as much of the cat fur off as possible, but we're gonna have to give it a deep soak. But he still really liked it, and he used it that night. I didn't get any footage of it because I had to go home, but he was really interested with it. He's really sniffing it. He really liked it. He was a bit unsure at first because he was like, why is this new furniture in my backyard? But once we kind of showed him that it was for him, that it was used for scratching, I think he's really appreciated. And I've been keeping in contact with my mum and her partner, and they've been telling me that Spaghetti's been using the smaller one and using it to scratch, which has been really good, and less holes in the curtain, which is the ideal outcome. So I spent a good while filming Spaghetti as he just sniffed everything out of this. He is picking up all the different scents of all the other animals that have ever interacted with this, and that's an enrichment item of its own. And we had his, there he goes, he's bored. He went off to the other one. We had his animal welfare in mind and our personal safety. I always kept a distance from Spaghetti. He is my cat, so I know his temperament and to be gentle around him. But we also had my mum and her partner along with her with a towel, just in case Spaghetti freaked out and maybe tried to scratch one of us. We also have a first aid kit on hand in our kitchen, just as a precaution. But we did this outside because we thought it was better to give Spaghetti the space to go up and smell it himself and let himself kind of find it and explore it at his own pace. So we did keep animal welfare in mind and our personal safety as well. And Spaghetti's done. Oh, his little tails are question marks. That's good. Good to see. So that's all. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.